Hey y'all, let's cover lesson 5, order of operation. All right, in order to evaluate expressions such as 4 plus 3 times 2, we need to have some direction about which operations to complete first. If the addition is evaluated first and the multiplication second, we get a different answer than if we do the multiplication is evaluated first and the addition second. So we need some rules to guide us for how to handle these mathematical operations. The order of operations fulfills its role. And so order of operations, most of you have heard, well, some of you have heard of PEMDA. And I'm going to be describing that as we go here. But just to show you what they're referring to, if you've got 4 plus 3 times 2, please don't write this down. This is just for you to visualize and understand that if you go 4 plus 3 first, that's 7 times 2, which is 14. But if you instead multiply the 3 and the 2 first, you get 6. You bring down the 4 plus, and that's 10. They are not equal. One is done correctly, one is not. This one is correct, this one is not. Even though from left to right, we have addition first, we're about to discuss why that is still not something you should do. Okay, so when evaluating expressions, proceed in the following order. All right, following order. And you're going to evaluate expressions contained in grouping of symbols like parentheses. You're going to evaluate expressions. Big spell here. Contained in groupings. Contained in groupings. Sorry. In grouping symbols like parentheses. We've got parentheses. We discussed this, I think it was day 1 even. We had the curly Q things, brackets, absolute values, anything that contains terms, then you're going to do what's inside of there first. If symbols are nested, so if there's a bracket and inside the bracket there's a parenthesis with something else happening, you're going to do the innermost one first. So if symbols are nested, work from the inside out. If symbols are nested, work from the inside out. Inside out. All right. The second one you're going to do is exponents. You're going to evaluate all exponents. Evaluate all exponents. So we've got parentheses, we've got exponents. All right, the next one is perform multiplication and division in the order that they appear. So just because we've got an M and a D here, it has nothing to do with multiplication first than division. Remember, multiplication is not more important than division, and division is not more important than multiplication. So you're going to perform multiplication and division multiplication and division in the order they appear left to right. They appear working left to right. Always, always, always. Left to right. You'll see me doing this left to right. I'll be using those terms as I work through different problems. So please make sure that you understand my terminology. I'll say it, but that's what I'll use. The next one is perform addition and subtractions. Subtractions. Same thing in the order that they appear, working from left to right. In the order they appear, again, working left to right. Okay, so that is the A and the S. So when you think of, when you see, or you think of PEMDAS, AS, I always like to think of it like this. And then I even put my arrows up above it. For folks who are just learning your order of operations, and honestly, y'all, I'm still teaching this sorry, in college algebra. People are still struggling with order of operations. And a big part of it is they forget that the left to right for the multiplication division and then left to right for addition and subtraction. We'll have plenty of options to practice this. All right, it's important to note that the order of operations is, well, it's 4 steps, not 6. Okay. We do not have to do multiplication before division. We do not have to do multiplication before division. Because see, here's the first step is parentheses. The second step is exponents. The third step is multiplication or division. And then the fourth step is addition or subtraction, whoever happens left to right. So we don't have to do multiplication before division or addition before subtraction. Just because it's labeled that way, it's still whoever appears left to right. This is very confusing for folks, and it's the left to right concept. Instead, these operations are tackled in pairs, working from left to right. Okay. So there's ways to remember PEMDAS. There's different little sayings you can do if you don't remember the PEMDAS itself. And one of those is, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, or please excuse my dear Aunt Sandra. Whatever works for you in order for you to remember this order of operations. So I'm going to put, please excuse my dear Aunt, come up with a name for S that you'll remember. Usually people use Sally. Okay. That is order of operations initially, and let's do some practice on this. All right. Evaluate 8 plus 2 times 5. Well, we got addition, we've got multiplication. I'm going to put PEMDAS up here for us. All right. So we've got no parentheses, no exponents. We've got multiplication and we've got addition. So multiplication and division come before addition and subtraction. Therefore, we have to do the multiplication first. So 8 plus 2 times 5 is 10. All right. And then 8 plus 10 is 18. The next one, we've got subtraction and addition. Granted, we've got addition and subtraction here, but it's left to right, L to R, right? Left to right for these two. So left to right, who comes first? 17 minus 8 comes before 8, negative 8 plus 2. So 17 minus 8 is 9, and then plus 2 is 11. Right? We've got division and we've got multiplication here. So up here, multiplication comes before division on PEMDAS. But again, who comes in the expression from left to right? Well, division comes first in the expression before multiplication. So we're going to do that. 54 divided by 9 is 6. Times 2 is 12. All right. The last one over here is 14 plus, we've got addition, and we've got multiplication, and we've got exponents. We've got exponents, multiplication, and addition. Well, who comes first in order of operation? Exponents do. So to evaluate this, 14 plus 3 times 4 squared is our exponent, so that's 16. Remember, you're going to use 4 caret 2 equals in your calculator to get 16, okay? Or you may have x to the box, or x to the y, or y to the x. They are all being represented by my caret here. I'm just not going to be saying this every time. All right, so now we've got addition and multiplication. Who comes first? Multiplication comes before addition, so we have to do 3 times 16 before we can add the 14. So 14 plus 3 times 16 is 48. Now we can do the addition, which is 62. Okay. All right. When you have a number right up against a parenthesis, that's multiplication. You do not see a multiplication sign in there, but if you'll remember when we discussed lesson 3 on multiplication, I showed you you could have the 4 and the 3 with parentheses representing the multiplication. So we've got multiplication here, we've got addition here, multiplication here, exponent, we've got parentheses, and then we have subtraction. We've got a lot of stuff happening here. Perhaps the letters are freaking you out a little bit. I don't want that to happen. So instead, I'm going to come up here and go, okay, parentheses. Do we have any parentheses to work with? Yes. So I'm going to deal with what's inside the parentheses. I've got 2 plus 3 times 4. So inside that 2 plus 3 times 4, who comes first that we have to work with? Multiplication comes before addition. So 2 plus 3 times 4 is 12. I'm going to rewrite everything else. Okay, so we are working on the inside of the parentheses, the P, the first one. And now we've got 2 plus 12 we have to complete before we do anything else. So 3 times 2 plus 12 is 14 squared minus 11. Okay. All right, now we've got 14 squared. We have to do the exponent. 14 squared is 196. So that's 3 times 196 minus 11. All right, now we have multiplication and subtraction. Order of operation, multiplication comes before subtraction. So we're going to multiply 3 times 196, and that's 588 minus 11. All right, now we can do the last step of subtracting the 11, and we get 577. And let me know if you have any questions on that. I'm not going to do this going forward. It's just too much. We're just going to work with what we have that we can see and just go that route. So sorry about the coughing. All right. When you have nested brackets or parentheses, you start with the innermost parentheses, the inner 3 plus 2. So we've got 2 curly Q, 3 plus 2 bracket. All right, now we got 3 plus 2 is 5. We have to do the inner bracket and close that out. So this is the same thing as 2. I'm just going to clean this up a little bit. 3 plus, and this could be 2 times 5 is the way we can think about this at this point. All right. I'm just cleaning up. It means the same thing. It's just there's too many brackets happening. I think that can be kind of confusing. So instead of going from here to here, I would probably go from here to here. It just looks cleaner. It means the same thing. All right, so now we've got still parentheses we're working in. We've got addition and multiplication. Multiplication comes before addition in order of operation. So 2 parentheses 3 plus, and then 2 times 5 is 10. Now we've got to finish off that parentheses. So that's 2 times 3 plus 10, which is 13. And then 2 times 13 is 26. All right, let me know what questions y'all have on that. All right, this one's got some fun stuff with it as well. So we do have parentheses, so we're going to start there. All right. How do I want to say this? We're going to use parentheses. There's so many things happening here. I don't want to just do one step at a time. I don't want to just sit there and write 6 squared plus 8 squared when it's not even attached really to the 2 plus 3. We're going to do the 2 plus 3. We're going to work with the denominator, but we've got a numerator that's got some stuff going on too. So I'm going to evaluate the top. I'm going to evaluate the numerator, evaluate the top, and evaluate the bottom. This is my plan. The denominator, the bottom, and then divide. All right, so evaluate the top. The top, I've got exponents and I've got addition, and then exponents. So exponents come before addition. So 6 squared is 6 times 6, or you can use that 6 caret 2 equals, and you'll get 36, plus 8 squared, which is 8 times 8, is 64. All right. Just bring this down here. I'm going to keep working on the top for now. 36 plus 64 is 100. All right. So my numerator is done. The top part's done. Now I'm going to go evaluate the bottom. The bottom is 2 plus 3 squared, but we have to do what's inside the parentheses first, which would be 5. I'm going to drop the parentheses and just have 5 squared. And then 5 squared is 5 caret 2, which is 25. All right. And then the last piece of this, I'm going to divide. 100 divided by 25 is 4. And there's my answer. Okay. Consider the expression 2 times 3 plus 4. So following the order of operations, we would evaluate the parentheses first. We would evaluate the addition first because it's inside the parentheses. Addition first, then the multiplication. Because very specific circumstances we have here. With multiplication in front of the parenthesis and addition inside the parenthesis, we have another option that we can use. So instead of just adding these two and then multiplying times 2, we have another option. So it's called the distributive property. And I use the distributive property a lot. More so in my college algebra classes, my algebra classes. And what that means is if you let A, B, and C be any whole numbers, then actually it's any numbers, A times B plus C is equal to A times B plus A times C. The way I like to write this, I'm not going to mess this up here, but I like to, if I have A times B plus C, I like to make these arrows because I find students multiply the first two and then they forget to multiply the A to the C. So I always draw the arrows, even in class, even when I'm doing it by myself, just to make sure I remember to distribute completely across that binomial or call it how many terms you have. So as an example, we'll do some down here. Note that the distributive property only applies with addition or subtraction that are inside the parentheses. Addition, I can spell addition or subtraction inside the parentheses. If you have multiplication or division inside that parenthesis, this is not going to work for you. It's only going to work if you have a number outside the parenthesis, the A. In this case, the next one's going to be 4. And then you have either addition or subtraction inside the parenthesis. That's the only way it's going to happen. So we're going to use the distributive property to calculate 4 times 11 plus 8. And all we're doing here is I'm going to rewrite it. 4 times 11 plus 8. Let's see if I can draw it right. I'm going to distribute that 4 across this binomial. So 4 times 11 plus 4 times 8. That's what I'm doing here. 4 times 11 is 44. 4 times 8 is 32. And so we've got 76 for an answer. Okay. Yes, the other way that we could have done it is 11 plus 8 is 19. 19 times 4 is 76. I'm just explaining this because once we get into adding variables, letters into our terms, you're going to still need to understand what distributive property means. All right, let's use the distributed property to evaluate 8 times 92. Well, in this case, they like to break it up between, we don't see any way to distribute right now. To distribute this, you can take 8 times, and I would go 90 plus 2. So 8 times 90 plus 8 times 2. This is 720 plus 16 is 736. Okay. Important, because distributed property overrides the order of operations. We generally do not use it when evaluating expressions containing only numbers. So what we're doing up here, you're never going to do. It's whenever you start adding in variables. So this property will be more commonly used with algebraic expressions containing variables and letters. You're not going to be doing this going forward. You're going to go with your parentheses first, then you're gonna multiply that 4 or the 8. It's not going to be like this, but just for understanding the concept. And that's it. Oh, that's it for lesson 4. Nope, lesson 5. I'll get this out to y'all and go make you lesson 6. Have a great weekend, and I'll see you in the next video.